You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. My name is Peter Basserin. I'm chairman of the Branford Inland Wetland Commission. Regular meeting. It is now 7 o'clock on February 27th, 2025. We're going to be conducting the meeting this evening as a virtual meeting using the Zoom software platform. This is in accordance with Public Act 22-3. The documents that we are using tonight are available at the town hall, and the agenda for tonight's meeting was filed on February 12th and is posted on the website. We normally have an opportunity to use the town's website for the other documents, but I guess we had an issue with the platform that's storing those documents. Jamie, can you indicate to the folk on the call how they can access those documents at the present?
Sure. Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So the hyperlink on our agenda appears to not be working. However, all the materials are available on the website, and I have put a direct link to the meeting materials in the chat for this evening's meeting.
Thank you. While you got the floor, are there any changes to the agenda from staff standpoint? You muted yourself, but I take that as a no.
No changes, sorry.
To provide public exposure to the proceedings, BCTV is recording. Thankful for their participation so that the public can view these meetings at their convenience. For those speaking this evening, please make sure that your face is visible when recording. Please, each time you're going to have a discussion, offer an opinion or a comment, please indicate your name so that, again, that the record can be complete in that regard. And if not speaking, please mute the microphone to avoid feedback. Let's see. Before taking the customary roll call tonight, I am happy to welcome a new member to the commission. She replaces Commissioner Meinson as a full member. Let's take a moment to bring along Commissioner Mirsky. And maybe
she's replacing Commissioner Fenaro.
That's what I meant. Fenaro, excuse me. And while we have you, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your life so far?
Thank you so much. Commissioner Rachel Mirsky, thank you for welcoming me to this new position. I am an attorney by trade. I primarily do civil rights law at this time. I'm also a resident here of Branford. I was looking to be more involved in the community in a way where I could, as a lawyer at the more local level, which this is exactly what this is. I am also involved in the community in other ways as well. I'm also a board member of what's called the Branford Micro Fund. And a lot of the work that I do is systemic work for my profession, where we look at ways to improve the lives of people with disabilities throughout the state of Connecticut. Primarily, we improve the lives of people in institutions who can't advocate for themselves. And I have been a resident of Branford for just over 2 years. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Welcome aboard. So we're going to do a roll call now. When I announce your name, please indicate your presence by saying present. Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, present.
Commissioner Meinson.
Commissioner Meinson, present.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis, present.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman, present.
And Commissioner Mirsky.
Commissioner Mirsky, present.
Great. Any commissioner at this point need to recuse themselves from any of the posted items on the agenda? Okay. First order of business are the minutes. We have minutes from February 13th, the regular meeting minutes. They were mailed out and again are available on the town's website. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 13th?
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as received from the February 13th, 2025 meeting.
Commissioner Meinson, I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain for obvious reasons.
Okay, and then we have the February 24th site walk minutes. Short and sweet. Looking for a motion on the site walk conducted last Monday.
This is Commissioner Begemon. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the site walk for 2/24/25.
Commissioner Papantonis, second.
Again, any discussion further? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Commissioner Meinson, abstain.
Before we get into the meat of the agenda, just a question, Jamie, with the commission now at its present members, the quorum amount that we would need would be now 5?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So the full commissioner member for the board is 7. So 4 is the quorum and up to 7 can be seated. So since we have less than 7 commissioners this evening, everyone is seated for all agenda items.
Okay, and a body of 4 would still be able to vote on measures? Okay. For item 2 on the agenda, applications for review, Inland Wetland 250101, 19 to 37 Gould Lane, proposed subdivision for 3 residential lots is first up. We have a lot of material in the Dropbox on this application. Believe it, there's been some updates. Jamie, can you bring us up to date with those updates?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So this application was for receipt at the last meeting. The commission scheduled a site walk for this past Monday, which has occurred and the minutes were just approved for. And I had mentioned at the last meeting, the commission might want to consider a public hearing for this application. And the commission decided to hold off on that discussion until after the site walk. So I guess my thoughts are that maybe we have a brief overview from the applicant as to what it is they're proposing to do, and then the commission can pick up on whether or not to schedule a public hearing. We don't want to dive too much into the material if there's going to be a public hearing, because then we'll have to, go through all of that information. So unless any commissioners have any questions regarding that, I guess I would hand it over to the applicant.
Sounds like a plan. And who do we have here from the applicant?
Good evening. My name is Ronald Wasmer. I'm a professional engineer and a land surveyor with an office at 158 Research Drive. I'm representing the applicant, 5 Beechwood LLC. Buddy Field and Josh Miller are the principals of that LLC, and they are here on the meeting this evening. The parcel is, Jamie, can you share the plans, please? Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Parcel's approximately 12.5 acres. It's bounded on the north, which is Gould Lane, and north is orientated up the page. There are 3 residential homes that front on Gould Lane, number 39, number 43, and number 45, that are not part of this application. house number 39 is kind of in the center of the page there. And that was previously part of this property, as well as the 2 lots to the east. The parcel is bounded on the east by the land of the Branford Land Trust. The parcel is bounded on the south by the cul-de-sac at the end of Beechwood Road. There are 2 existing homes on Beechwood Road, which you probably recall from the site walk, and the site is bounded on the west by the Branford Railroad. A large portion of the property is designated as wetlands. These wetlands were delineated by William Kenny, professional soil scientist. The proposal is to subdivide the parcel into 3 residential lots and a 4th parcel to be conveyed to the Branford Land Trust. And so that's indicated on this subdivision map that you see in front of you now. So you'll see 1 lot at the end of Beechwood Road, and then 2 lots along Gould, 1 to the west, and then the 1 to the east. And the east is kind of like an L-shaped lot because it contains uplands behind the existing house number 39. The intention of the subdivision plan is for upon approval for recording in the land records. We can take a quick look at the next sheet, which is the zoning layout sheet. The intent of this plan is to demonstrate zoning compliance, and it doesn't have too much to do with wetlands, but you can see the lots and the proposed houses and the setbacks, as well as the wetlands and lot areas. The grading and drainage plan is probably of most interest to this commission. This plan depicts the existing and proposed grades, the proposed houses, drainage structures, utilities, and some of the features intended to protect the wetlands. In regards to grading, the lots are gentle to moderately sloping. The proposed house generally sits on the higher portion of the lot. There's minimal grading required to develop these lots as indicated by the finished grades. The houses will connect to public water and sewer. Electric on Gould Lane is overhead. Electric on Beechwood is underground. We've proposed storm drainage management through infiltration galleys. These galleys are designed such that there is no increase in runoff for the 25-year storm. That's my understanding of the Branford engineering requirements. One of the features, or some of the features in regard to wetland protection, is we've proposed a split rail fence approximately 15 feet off the wetlands limits on all the various lots. Most of the land on lots 1 and 2 was once a lawn area and now has become overgrown with small cedar trees and maple trees and grass. There's an area behind lot number 2 that again is a grass area with small cedar and maple trees growing in there. So we don't have any proposed development behind lot number 2, but I did, in a previous application, in the previous plans, we had erosion control indicated on that rear portion of the lot number 2, as well as some fencing. So we've removed that from the plan. Everyone still with me here? Thank you. So on the current plan, we're proposing cedar posts around the perimeter of the uplands of lot number 2. The intention is just to provide notification to any future homeowner. You can see right where Jamie just stopped the mouse is the end of the cedar, end of the split rail fence. And there the intention is a more significant visual barrier to prevent intrusion into the wetlands in the area closest to the development. We have an erosion control and sedimentation and erosion control plan attached, and you'll see that we have proposed silt fence as well as anti-tracking pads, and we have some mitigation plantings. Now, the intention of these plantings is to provide habitat and to augment the existing understory adjacent to the wetlands. Lot number 3, which is the one off of Beechwood, contains an existing block building and some what appear to me is overgrown ornamental shrubs as well as some natural forest cover. I believe that this lot was used in portion, I'm speculating, but in portion with the development of Beechwood. The other homes on Beechwood were once part of this land. And if you could recall from the site walk, there was a somewhat less used, but at one point it was a woods road that went from the house, the existing house in the center, to this block building in the back. And the house was previously owned by the person that sold the land for Beechwood Road. I wasn't involved in that, so some of this is speculation on my part. But so, in a nutshell, that's the proposal. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Mr. Wassmer, thank you very much. Couple small questions. Are there proposed houses that are they going to be pre-built houses and then sold, or are they going to be spec houses, or how is this development going to work?
I presume that they will begin construction of houses and then market them for sale.
Okay, so they're gonna move forward and build the houses and not sell they're not gonna wait to sell the lots, or they are.
It's possible that they would sell a lot to another purchaser, and they could hire their own builder. Our applicants are actually builders and mechanical contractors, so they have the experience as well as the knowledge and to build these single family houses.
Well, no, and what my concern is, are they gonna, do they plan on building a house right away to start construction right away, or they plan to market it and then build it down the road, or a year from now?
I don't think that they're going to wait a year from now. I think they want to market these and begin construction this construction season. Okay. There's not a lot of inventory there at the moment. So,
this is Commissioner Bassman. To that point, what's the construction timeline or schedule? Is the grading to be done all at once? Is the access driveways, etc., to be done, and then the houses go in, or are we going to do this, little by little?
I would say that they'll develop one lot at a time, or they would do all the work with any particular lot at one time. They would not grade it and then wait to sell it. They would grade it when they're ready to build the house, as well as the access road and the storm drainage. And, typically it's about 6 to 9 months to grade the lot, install the utilities, foundation, frame, side, et cetera.
Do they?
Is this lot by lot construction?
I'm sorry?
Is this lot by lot construction?
Yes. Including
stormwater management, et cetera?
Yeah, the stormwater management is individual to each lot. We're not proposing any roads. There's no road construction to be built.
Jamie Frederick in the Lenny agent. Yeah, there's no shared infrastructure between the 3 lots development. So I just want to take a step back and suggest that commissioners think about questions in regards to whether or not to hold a public hearing before we dive into too much of this. Because if we are going to have a public hearing, we probably want to wait for these questions. And, you don't want to have a public hearing, that's great, but we should decide that. So for new commissioners, there's 3 reasons in which the commission can hold a public hearing. Per state statutes, the commission shall not have a public hearing unless one of these 3 criteria are met. One is that the proposed activity may have a significant impact on wetlands or watercourses. Second is a petition signed by at least 25 persons who are 18 years of age or older and who reside in the municipality in which the regulated activity is proposed, requesting a public hearing is filed with the agency not later than 14 days after the date of receipt of such application. That would be today, and we have not received such a petition. And the third one is that the agency finds that a public hearing regarding such application would be in the public interest, which is the reason that I had suggested might be applicable at the last meeting. We have had some of the neighboring property owners ask about what was going on with the property when it was being surveyed and flagged for wetlands. And we also did have a couple members of the public at the site walk. So I would suggest that would be the reason for consideration. Of course, unless any commissioners have thoughts regarding proposed activity may have a significant impact on wetlands or watercourses. However, I'd just like to identify that they're not proposing any activity directly within a wetland or watercourse as part of this application.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Do we have any formal correspondence from the public regarding the project here?
No. So one of the benefits of holding a public hearing is there are noticing requirements that make the public aware that the commission has an application before them. And it would allow members of the public the opportunity to present if there was any information they felt was relevant to the purview of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses jurisdiction in reviewing the application. If the commission were to hold a public hearing, we would one of those notices is noticing in the paper, and then the applicant would have to notice the abutters and put a sign up at the property. So it would mean some additional time before the public hearing could be opened. The earliest the public hearing could be opened would be March 27th from a newspaper publication standpoint.
This is Commissioner Basserman again. And Jamie, did we, on the previous Gould Lane project, not that long ago, did we not have a public hearing there?
Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago in the sense that it was before my tenure here. It was 2013. Just missed it. I think there was a public hearing, but I'm not sure. I was not part of that process. I think given that there's a lot of wetlands on the parcel, it wouldn't be out of place to hold a public hearing.
And the other thing is, Commissioner Basserman again, this does abut land trust property?
It does. And there's a portion of property that I believe they're looking to set aside as open space and are talking with the land trust about potential interest.
That's correct. We have proposed an area of land approximately 1.5 acres that's adjacent to the existing Branford Land Trust. It's actually labeled as lot number 4 on the plan.
Mm-hmm. This is Commissioner Basserman. I'm going to make a recommendation and a motion that application Inland Wetland 250101 be conducted within the context of a public hearing to be scheduled. What was that date again, Jamie?
March 27th.
March 27th.
March 27th of 2025.
This is Commissioner Begemon. I'll second that.
Any commissioner want to make comment on that motion?
This is Commissioner Mirsky. I recognize I'm new and I recognize that these meetings tend to be remote. My understanding and my preference, not for me personally, just for ease of use, not knowing if anyone would show up, if it be a small or larger group, is the commission open to it being in person, given that it's more challenging with more people on this particular platform?
This is Commissioner Begemon. We've had discussions about the benefits actually of doing it remotely, because when the designs can be shared remotely, you really get a really good view. And when you're in person, they're about 40 feet away and somebody's pointing at them with a stick. That's a benefit I see of having them remotely, even for larger groups, but that's my opinion.
The public hearings that I've been involved with have been a lot easier here, and we've had relatively a good turnout for all the public hearings that we have had. People that wanted to be there were there and were online and waited hours for discussion. So that's my opinion.
It's been a while since the commission has met face to face, since the pandemic. And it would appear that, as we have talked about meetings in general, that the commissioners seem to feel the flexibility as well as the document availability makes the in-person less conducive than actually the virtual. So we had a motion. Do we have a second on that?
I second it. I think we're in the discussion phase. I have a question though. I know we're not supposed to talk about specifics in that if we vote yes for the public hearing. But if we do have questions that we want to address between, or we want to give the applicant time to look at between now and the public hearing, when do we submit those questions?
Let's maybe talk about that after this motion, because I'm not really the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take I guess we do a roll call vote on this. Commissioner Gokowski?
Commissioner Gokowski, yes.
Commissioner Meinson?
Commissioner Meinson, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis?
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begemon, aye.
Commissioner Mirsky?
Commissioner Mirsky, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. So we're going to have a public hearing on this, and now I guess to address the question, Jamie, you want to chime in at this point? Now that we've concluded we're going to do a public hearing?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. If any commissioners know they have any questions now would be an appropriate time to ask them. And if anything comes up while you're reviewing materials, you can send staff, don't send it to the whole commission, just send it to staff, what your questions are, and we can relay them back to the applicant team for discussion at the public hearing.
So, and we're not getting these answered. We're just asking the questions, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a question that they can answer with like revised materials or something, then you might receive answers. But all of that would have to be through the record of the application and reviewed at a public meeting.
Okay, so this is Commissioner Begemon. One question had to do with mitigation. And what I didn't see in the application materials is actually a narrative from the soil scientist about the plants and the conditions and nature that is there, and what kind of, when you talk about mitigation, what kind of, and you're talking about planting plants, but whether there's going to be invasive management, things like that. And another question is that little land bridge that goes between the two bodies of water. that appears man-made. I don't know if the soil scientist would weigh in on whether a mitigation if you're trying to improve the wetlands would be or not to be to connect those two bodies of water. Yeah. And then I have other questions just about the galleys. Those galleys are infiltrators, it's my understanding. And there's a note that says that the yard drains will sit on top of those infiltrators. And I gather a yard drain is water that's running off the yard that's going then into the infiltrators, or is that? Anyhow, my concern has to do with lawns and pesticides and fertilizers and them going into an infiltrator deeper into the ground than they might with bioswales or other types. That's a question. And I saw a little typo on the sedimentation and erosion control plan. It's in the second paragraph on the sedimentation and erosion control narrative. It just had to do with that there's two sentences. It says applicant shall request a pre-construction meeting with the project engineer and the site contractor, and then it stops, and then it says the zoning enforcement officer and or the wetland enforcement officer, but it doesn't say, I mean, it's implied that that person will be at the meeting, but because it doesn't say it specifically, I thought I'd point it out. Yeah. And I think a narrative might be, this is Commissioner Begemon again, a narrative of why, my understanding is that mitigation is often done when there's been direct impact on a wetland, but there's no proposed direct impacts at all to direct impacts to the wetland. So I think a narrative of why the applicant is proposing mitigation would be helpful.
Amy Frederick and the wetland agent. Certainly I would say when we see direct activity within a wetland or water course, the commission sees compensation, and at that point often requires compensation. There are times where an applicant will propose compensation and or be requested to propose compensation, even when there's no direct activity proposed within the wetland, just based on, the increase in activity adjacent to the wetland area. I think the narrative that was being discussed on, what the proposed mitigation is, whether there's invasive species management, a little bit more information on kind of what that compensation would look like relative to the existing conditions would be helpful to make sure that the commission understands what the compensation proposed is and that it's appropriate. And so that on the back end, when the property owner is looking to get COs for the properties, we're not dealing with whether the number of plants was appropriate, and we're dealing with that up front so that there's a little bit less potential confusion at the end. So I think certainly having the wetland scientists review that proposed planting / compensation plan and providing a little bit more detail for the commission would be beneficial.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Does any commissioner feel that we need any third-party input to assist the commission in its responsibility here? The fact that there's not really any direct impact on the wetland would certainly put it in different light than if that was not true.
Amy Frederick and the wetland agent. I think the fact that there's no proposed wetland filling, that there's no shared infrastructure being proposed, it would be in line to not necessarily have a peer review for this.
This is Commissioner Begman. One of the things that we saw on the site walk is an old car and some cement pipes. The old car is on lot 3 and the cement pipes are down in the wetlands in property 2, lot 2. I don't know if it would be typical to have a description of how those are going to be removed, Jamie, or if that might be something that the applicant should address.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yeah, there is some existing debris on site that, to the extent that it's feasible, would be ideal to have removed as part of, the project compensation, if you will. And how that's going to work would be helpful to have. I think the pipes might be outside of the wetland, but they're adjacent to it. So clarification on that. If they are in the wetland, then, certainly the means for removal that would minimize impact, should be addressed.
Anything else, commissioners? Okay, so I think we have established that there's a public hearing on this scheduled for late March. Late March? Yeah, late March.
March 27th at regularly scheduled meeting to be held via Zoom.
Okay.
So before we continue, I would suggest maybe just seeing if the applicant has any questions regarding the homework, if you will, that has been outlined. And if the applicant has any questions regarding noticing requirements, you can certainly feel free to follow up with staff at any point.
So I jotted down some notes, but I'll call you in the near future and we can sit down and just make sure I understood all the questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you again in a month.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Inland Wetland 250201, 301 Maple Street, renovations to yard space within 100 feet of the watercourse. We had plans from the last meeting dated January 29th. Are those still the plans in play, Jamie?
Well, yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. We have not received any new material since the last meeting. I believe that we do have a representative present this evening. So we didn't discuss this application at the last meeting. I did indicate that we had received the application and some materials and that I had sent out an email with some of my initial questions/concerns. So I don't know if we want to start with the presentation from the applicant team and go from there. Just real quick reminder that this application was submitted in response to a notice of violation, which is the next item on the agenda. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Who do we have with us from Nafis Young? Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Jim Galligan. I'm with Nafis Young. I'm a professional engineer. We did receive all of your comments. The only thing is that between COVID, RSV, vacations, and a little bit of cold weather, we haven't been able to get out to the field to secure the rest of the information you've asked for. We are more than willing to do exactly that and provide you with the information that you've requested. We just fell victim to some unfortunate events over the last month or so. I believe the applicant is here, so if there's any specific questions you have about the activities that have taken place, I believe he's here via phone. But I do have the list that was provided and have gone through the list and are more than willing to comply with all the elements in it.
This is Commissioner Basman. Jimmy, the time frame on this is?
So the application was just for receipt at the last meeting.
Yeah.
I haven't calculated out when the time runs out, but we've got some time. To that end, though, when do you think that the additional information will be available?
We will try and get out there next week. That being the case, I can get it to you by the end of next week, if not the beginning of the following week.
So the commission might want to consider that when scheduling continuation of this matter, but we might want to dive a little bit into the content of what we do have and then make that decision. Let's see, let me open up.
Maybe just an overview, a quick overview to give us some basis for looking at this, especially since we have the NOV that follows. And then we'll have a fuller discussion in a couple of weeks when the material that's been requested can be addressed.
All right, so I'll start by showing you an aerial image of the property. So the subject property is on the corner of Swift Street and Maple Street. This is an aerial image, I think, from 2023. And to the rear or east side of the property, you can see that there's a water course that flows under Maple Street and continues down towards Long Island Sound. So this water course is the area of concern. And essentially there was some vegetation removal in the backyard, which should have gone through a permit review process. The property, for those that are familiar with it, was very overgrown. I had talked to the property owner about not removing vegetation in the rear yard until the commission had a chance to review a proposed application. Unfortunately, there was understory growth, saplings, small shrubs, kind of things that were removed. Most of the mature trees, are still there. So this is an after the fact application, if you will. And then in addition to the activity that has occurred, I believe the property owner is looking to put up a fence to just kind of help keep residents away from that water course for safety reasons. The bank of the water course is fairly steep and there's some concrete retaining walls.
Yeah.
I don't know. Concrete.
Called semi-retaining wall.
Um,
I think, Jamie, I think there's actually a couple of pictures on our plans that might show.
Yeah, so I'll hop over to, oops, wrong one. So this is the site plan, and there's on the top, they have a couple of photos of the water course. So this is after the vegetation removal. They put in a silt fence, which has since been reversed, and my understanding is towed in. I've not actually inspected it since it's been towed in. And they did spread straw to help keep everything stable until they can get everything stabilized with vegetation. And the water course is below this tree here. And so this is from the water course looking, I believe, looking south towards Maple Street. And this is the reinforcement that I was trying to explain. And then this is looking north towards Swift Street, with the culverts coming from under Swift Street. So I don't know if the commission wants more information regarding the stability of the bank, given its kind of
you can say ugly.
I was gonna say tenuous nature. It doesn't look very sturdy. We do have correspondence from 2013, I believe, in our files to the previous property owner from the previous inland wetland agent. Not a violation, but just kind of a notice of, hey, the condition of this slope looks basically kind of saying, hey, you may want to keep an eye on this. And so I don't know. I guess the biggest concern would be the removal of vegetation that has occurred and any impacts to roots that would be holding that soil in place. And then also the installation of the proposed fence. It's not entirely clear to me how it will be installed. And there's kind of been a little bit of difference in my understanding of where the fence will go and where the fence is shown on the site plan. I think I'm looking. This is this. It's not labeled.
I think if we look at the next drawing, Jamie.
Go back. So you've got that concrete block wall that we were looking at. And then the B, C, and A are call outs of where these photos were taken up here. So we've got the silt fence location shown on here at the SF line. And then the white vinyl fence is shown with this line with the circles. And it looks like it's shown between the silt fence and the top of the wall, which definitely to me seems concerning regarding the stability of that bank. But I think the property owner had indicated that he was going to set it 10 feet off of that wall. But that's not what the site plan shows. So I don't know if the property owner is present, if he can speak to that for the commission real quick. If you're on a phone and you're looking to unmute, 1 minute, let me.
While he's trying to unmute, I did talk to Steve today, and he did say he was going to try and he was going to be connecting to the meeting via telephone. So you may be struggling with that.
It looks like you're unmuted. You've got your hand raised. Feel free to talk. I'm not hearing you. Steve Dostie, can you hear me? I feel like I heard somebody for a split second.
Well, maybe while he's trying to connect, maybe I can try and fill in. If you flip back to that diagram, I can move that fence, like Steve said, about 10 feet off the top of the bank. If the silt fence needs to be relocated behind where that fence is going to be, that can be done as well. And I would assume that he's going to use some type of mechanical equipment to drill the holes. There's a significant amount of fence for guys to try and do that with a post hole digger. So I would assume that he's going to do it with an auger. As you had mentioned, Jamie, he has stabilized all the disturbed area and so on. So as far as stability of the retaining wall, I'm not sure how to approach that. I can tell you it's stable now because it's not falling down now, but there's no way to be able to predict whether it will or whether it won't. Right now, if you look at a couple of the other photos there, you can see the general need for the retaining wall. You can see some of the other areas where the slope has been eroded over the decades. But at this point, he's really only proposing, aside of what's done to date, just putting in the fence.
So yeah, I mean, I guess my concern would be if there's going to be equipment being used to install that fence and it's being installed right at the top of the bank, that seems slightly problematic to me.
Well, as I said, if he's committed to putting it 10 feet back from the edge of the fence, I mean that's what the augers are for, is to minimize the disturbance while digging the posts.
Yeah, I guess the addition of vibrations and whatnot from the machinery, relative to that bank situation would be the concern.
All right. Well, I can, seeing as he's having some difficulty connecting, I can find out and clarify that for you for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think clarification for the next meeting would be helpful, and also if he is looking to move the fence, revising the plan to show that.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's no problem.
So it's my understanding that the additional site work is needed to do the A2 survey and that you're looking to submit that in the coming weeks. Is that correct?
That's our goal, yes.
This Commissioner Basserman, I guess I have concerns about that wall. Is there nothing in the plan that addresses correcting the problems with the existing retaining wall?
At this point, he's not proposing to disturb it at all. I think if he goes to try and disturb it at all, it would mean dismantling it in its entirety and building a new one. I mean, if you go to try and touch that thing at all, you can see from the photos that there's some vegetation whose root systems have tied into the wall. So
Yep.
at this point, he's not proposing to do anything to the wall.
I guess for one commissioner, I guess I'd be interested in some engineering professional indicating what it would take to correct that situation.
Well, that's easy. I can do that, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's basically if you want to correct a situation, simply put, you just take the entire wall down and you put up a modular block wall, commonly called a Versalock wall, to replace it.
Because it's just time before that happens that it's going to collapse.
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. Alternatively, maybe having a structural engineer assess the condition of the wall and the proposed activity and whether it makes, address whether it makes sense to address the wall or at what point would the wall need to be, or is there a routine basis on which the wall should be assessed to make sure that we're not dealing with it once it becomes, a catastrophic issue. Potentially.
Where does this flow, Jamie, from here?
It flows south to ultimately to Long Island Sound, but
right, but through what?
I don't know that I have that much of the you see it over here. I believe it's part of Mill Creek and it flows down ultimately to Branford River and that's Long Island.
So it leaves the site ultimately underground?
It's surface flow. There's a I don't know that we have a picture of the crossing on the south end.
Yeah, there's a box culvert in Maple Street that it flows through.
Okay.
Nick Nicholson, now you can see the pipes on the third picture, reference image C.
Who's that voice?
Nick from Nicholson Young. And if you go to reference image C, you can see the pipes that go under Maple Street.
You might have to turn up your volume.
If you go to reference C, you can see those pipes right there under Maple Street.
Is this?
That's the inflow or the outflow?
I believe that would be the outflow. It flows into.
It looks like that's the side from Swift Street, but the water course flows south.
I apologize. Maple into Swift Street, under Swift Street. I was just saying.
No, actually it was the ground was frozen when we were out there, so we didn't get a good chance to see which way it flowed. But it does flow from right to left in the picture towards Maple Street.
And it looks like I don't know if we have a picture of that. It looks like you might be able to kind of see part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a precast box culvert with concrete wing walls.
This is Commissioner Begemon. Jamie, are you in mid-thought?
Yeah, but
No, no, I'm holding. Oh, the different J. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure which one of us misheard.
Commissioner Bergman, I'll just ask a question. If a retaining wall that's on a watercourse is decaying and causing potential harm to the waterway, is that the responsibility? Like, does a homeowner have to repair this kind of thing? I mean, I don't think I've come across this yet.
So, I mean, ultimately, the property owner is responsible for the impacts of the property. So, if it is impacting the wetland watercourse, then conceivably, yes, they would have the requirement to fix it. I don't know that it's at that condition right now. I just don't want to be dealing with it when it, should it. I don't want to see it fall into the water course and then we have to deal with it, especially because this is a high flow area. So it certainly would impact, it could impact flooding and drainage patterns, if it were to block up this water course. It would have a lot of impacts to the neighboring property owners.
This Commissioner Basserman, as a follow-up to Commissioner Begeman's question, suppose there was no application, to correct the situation, and you stumbled across, or a neighbor stumbled across and said, this thing is a disaster waiting to happen. Would we issue a NOV to correct it?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I would say we'd only issue an NOV if it was like either impacting or somehow obviously imminent. I mean, it seems somewhat imminent right now, but I mean, like, so long story short, going back to that 2013 correspondence, my predecessor sent a letter. So it wasn't a notice of violation. She specified it wasn't a notice of violation. It was a heads up. This looks like a problem, and if should it fail, it will be a violation. So you might want to consider looking at what it would take to address it, kind of thing.
I think it adds credence to your comment about having some kind of structural assessment of the wall in its condition today and when that failure opportunity might present itself.
Commissioner Meinson, do we know what it looked like back when that letter was sent in 2013 for comparison?
Let me see if I've added that to the file, and if not, we can always add it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the NOV, and we can add the NOV to the application because it's relevant. This photo is from 2013. Let me rotate it for everyone.
It's Commissioner Goklowski. It looks pretty much the same as it did.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the commission to help direct Mr. Galligan?
So,
go ahead.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think I had also mentioned to the applicant that you might want to do a site walk. I don't know if you're satisfied with the photos and your understanding of the conditions, or if you think it would be beneficial to schedule a site walk so that you can see it firsthand. Sometimes pictures make something look worse or not as,
This is Commissioner Papantonis. I think a site walk's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyone feel differently?
Nope.
All right. It sounds like our property owner is still trying to figure out how to talk, but He was able to communicate via the chat, so I'm going to suggest that the commission discuss a date for that site walk, and then we ask the applicant to confirm that that date works for him via the chat.
This is Commissioner Begeman. We've another possible thing for the applicant to look into. We heard that you could take down the whole thing and build a new one, but for like a possibility of what would it take to reinforce whatever's there and repair the sections that are missing.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Once you touch this wall, it's all. Yeah, I mean, this is all interlocking. You can see that there's a fairly good sized tree with a root system in the wall. As soon as you touch this wall, you're rebuilding the whole thing.
Well, let's talk about the sidewalk date. We have this is Commissioner Bassman. We have a clock change that'll work in our favor if we want to do this, late afternoon. Does next Thursday work?
I'm not available next Thursday, Commissioner Manson.
Say that again, Commissioner.
I am not available next Thursday.
I also am not available, Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Murski, I'm also not available.
The property owner has indicated they're not available to meet at any time. Mr. Dosty, would you be open to having the commission meet with your engineer on site at the time that they're available?
I'm sorry, I missed that, Jamie.
Okay, so the property owner said he's not available to meet. However, he is open to having the commission schedule a site walk when the engineering firm is available to meet with the commission out there at the site.
He said he is available to meet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reading. I thought that was a very uncharacteristic response to them. Okay.
What do this Commissioner Bassman, do we have to wait to find out when the engineering?
No, so it sounds like the property owner is available, and so let's work on getting something that's available for the commission, and then we'll confirm from there.
Is a Saturday better or not?
Any day besides Thursday is better. It's fine by me.
Wednesday is a good day. Monday and Tuesday is out. Wednesday is a good day for me.
Wednesday, right before the next meeting?
That'll be the 6th, maybe.
That'd be Wednesday, the 12th.
I can do Wednesday the 12th.
That work for you?
Sounds to me like we got a week in between then and now.
We would have 2 weeks.
Seeing as Saturday's the 1st. Sounds to me like.
Yeah, it's a day under 2 weeks. And this would just be for the commission to view the site conditions. So I guess.
How about Wednesday the 5th? Why wait until the night before the meeting?
Wednesday the 5th is Ash Wednesday. I don't know that.
Yes, that won't work. Is the commission available on the 12th?
Yes.
Thursday?
Yes.
And I am.
Yes.
All right, sounds like that's the date. What time, guys? 5 o'clock?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have a scheduled site walk for March 12th at 5 o'clock for inland wetland 250201. And the applicant is okay with that?
I am available. Thank you all
Great.
from the applicant. Okay, so to that, following up on that, does the commission want to? Okay, so there's, I guess, two things. One, is there anything that the commission knows that they want aside from the A2 survey at this time in regards to the stability, or do you want to wait and hold off until you've seen it and then have that conversation perhaps March 13th? There's been kind of some discussion about whether the wall should be reviewed by a structural engineer.
And we'd still have 30 days after the next meeting, Jamie?
65 days from the date of receipt. The application was for receipt February 13th, so we would have until the April 10th meeting to make a decision.
Okay, yeah, why don't we do that? Do the site walk before we decide whether structural support for a wall or alternatives is going to be required.
So we'll have the site walk Wednesday, March 12th at 5 p.m. We'll send out an agenda, and then the commission will continue review at March 13th, hopefully with the updated survey, and assess whether additional information is needed at that time. I think the only thing we didn't go over tonight that I think should also be addressed for that meeting is whether you're planning any replanting or seeding in the area where the vegetation was removed, in regards to making sure there's long-term stabilization of that area. And if you are looking to move that fence off of the top of wall, considering something that's more of a neat natural condition between the wall and the bank, might be worth considering.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I think a lot of those questions will be answered, or we will be able to answer them once we get out to the site and see, 10 feet off that area, taking a look at the wall, and then looking at the area that needs to be reseeded. I remember the property many years ago when the property was first built and how well maintained it was.
Jamie,
Hey, anything else on this, Jamie?
Nope. No, I just wanted to make sure that that was also identified so that hopefully we can have an answer for the next meeting.
Okay. See you in a couple of weeks.
Well, technically, they're the next item too.
Yeah. The removal of the vegetation without a permit, 301 Maple Street.
So my suggestion would be to, since they've got the application before the commission and we scheduled that site walk, that we continue this as well to the March 13th meeting.
This is Commissioner Begeman. I don't recall. Was there a planting plan other than grass? I know we just
There's
talked
no
about this.
planting plan information provided, which is why I suggested, I indicated that that information should be provided.
Okay, and also a description of kind of what the understory was there before so that we can have an idea of what might need to be replaced? Would that be important? Maybe
we can request it if available. I'm not sure.
Just as Commissioner Goklowski, I'm familiar with that property. Basically, the previous owners just let the property. What we walked through the other day is what that property had. It was all overgrown, and that's basically what it is. I haven't been there since, but when the property was first built, that was one corner that was all perfectly landscaped all the way around the whole property.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. I did meet with the property owner out on site before the vegetation removal occurred. I don't recall, I didn't take any notes of what the vegetation was. There were some saplings back there, and some shrubs. I don't recall what they were. There was a tiny bit of multiflora rose in one spot, but it wasn't dominated by multiflora rose. At least I think it may have been. I don't recall for sure. And unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures when I first went out to meet with the property owner. These photos are from shortly after the disturbance occurred, and I'm just trying to look. So like here you can see some of the saplings that were removed and or shrubs. So I don't know that there's going to be a record of what was removed. I don't think that, I don't
Probably
know.
not.
But we can ask the property owner if he has it to submit it and just can go from there. There was also some debris, trash, an old tractor, and things like that the property owner was trying to get off of the property. And I think in trying to create a path to get to it, he got a couple steps ahead of himself.
Well, the NOV for 301 Maple Street is continued until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the commission. No applications for receipt. No agent approvals. No other business. Any other correspondence and announcements, Jamie, that we need to just touch on, or are we
Just a quick reminder for those that are registered on the cause meeting is next Wednesday because it's March, and that was a surprise for me. That's all I've got.
I guess this may be one of the shorter meetings that we've had. I'd ask Commissioner Mirsky not to take too much faith in the fact that this is a little over an hour, because this is the exception rather than the rule. So hang in there. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you next meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.